Hey there, welcome back. Friends, today we will discuss about wait and notify. Now friends, as we know that in a multi-threaded application, multiple threads execute simultaneously. But what happens when a thread is depending on a other thread? What happens if dependencies is there? How we can handle this scenario? This is something which we need to understand, and this is something where wait and notify can help us. So let's understand the scenario using a very simple example. So friends, let's take a very simple example of a bank account transaction, and this would be pretty simple as well. So here we would be firstly adding a method by the name of withdraw. Let's do that. It would be a public method. It will return nothing, and the name of the method would be like withdraw. Here we go. And whenever we will be receiving an amount for withdraw, we will subtract that amount from the balance. So here we would be adding a static element, static public int balance equals 0. So we will initialize the balance with 0 to start with, and let's take an input as amount for the withdraw method. And in here what we will do is we will say if balance is less than equals to 0. If this is the case, then we will definitely wait and we will try to understand whether there is some depositing done or not. Till the time the balance is 0, we will simply wait. So we will call in the wait method, and let me show you how we can call in the wait method. Here is the wait method, and in here we are not making use of any parameter. Take a note of it. Now what's the role of this wait method? Wait method will enter the current thread in the waiting phase. As the result, the thread will stop executing till the time some other thread calls the notify method. So that's the role of the wait method. Definitely we will dig more into the wait method in couple of minutes. First of all, let us get rid of this issue. So here is the issue fixed, and now after this if condition, if the condition is not true, then definitely we will do one thing. We will type in balance equals balance minus amount. Now in here we are not making use of else part, because definitely as soon as our thread enters the wait method, definitely this statement will not get executed automatically. So that's again one more thing. Now friends, moving forward, let us again create a yet another method which would be deposit method. So let's do that. So in here we will add a yet another public method, and it will return nothing as well. Name would be like deposit. We will again accept amount. Alright, and in here we will simply type in balance equals balance plus amount. Oops, let me fix this. Alright, so pretty cool stuff, right? Alright, so let's do couple of more things inside these two methods in order to understand that what exactly is happening in our program. So in here I will add in a message. We are depositing the amount, right? Pretty cool and standard message. Inside this try block, let us add in a sysout statement, waiting for balance updation. Alright, so this looks good to me. And finally, after the balance is deducted, we will type in withdrawal successful. So again yet another message. Alright, so this looks good to me. As if now, let's create couple of threads. First of all, we will create an object of app class. So let's do that. Alright, and in here let's create thread. So I will type in thread1 equals new thread, and inside this thread we will make use of new runnable. Here we go. So this looks good, and inside this run method we will simply call in this withdraw method. So in here I will type in app.withdraw. Pretty cool stuff, right? So we will try to withdraw maybe 1000, and that's it. Alright, and then we will try to start this thread. So I will type in thread1.start. Pretty cool. Then we will create a yet another thread. thread 2 equals new thread. Alright, and in here first of all we will add in a sleep method. So I will type in thread.sleep. Let me enclose this with try catch block. Let us fix this issue. And after this sleep method call, after 5 seconds, we will call in the deposit method. So in here, I will type in app.deposit. Alright, the amount would be like 2000. Pretty cool, right? So this looks good to me. And then we will call in thread2.start. Alright, so till now we have did couple of things. In here we have the withdraw method, we have the fancy wait method. We haven't used the notify method till now, but everything looks good to me as of now, but there are some issues. Let me show you. If I execute the program will work properly, but there would be an exception in between. So the program is executing, but somehow there is some kind of issue. And it says that in thread 0, there is some kind of issue. Now let me do one more thing. Before starting these threads, let me also give the name for this thread so that we can get a proper output. So in order to give the name, it is very simple. I will type in thread1.set name, and the name could be like thread1, and let me do the same with thread2. So at least in the exceptions, we will get a proper output. Alright, so now it is showing the proper thread1 exception. Now friends, everything seems to be good enough, but somehow we are getting this error. The reason is pretty simple. Whenever we are making use of wait or notify method, wait and notify method should be enclosed inside a synchronized method or a synchronized block. So that is a catch. So in here, let us make use of a synchronized block real quick. Let me add in pair of braces, and we will enclose this if condition inside this pair of braces. Alright, and we will mark this brace as synchronized. Alright, and friends, this particular pair of brace would be synchronized, but we need to also specify the object on which it would be synchronized, right? Now in here we will make use of this instance. This instance means that the current object which is getting used, the lock would be based on the current object. So in our case, the object is app, so the synchronization would be based on this app object. Alright, so this looks good. Now let me execute the program, and here is the output, and there won't be any crash now. Waiting for balance updation, and after some time, after 5 seconds, we are getting this output. We are depositing the amount, and then the program is continuously waiting. As we can see in here, we can terminate the program, but program is not stopped by itself. What is the reason? The reason is pretty simple. There is no call to notify method from some other thread, and the program is infinitely waiting for call to notify method. So that is the reason why the program is infinitely waiting. Now what is the solution? Now friends, the solution is calling in the notify method from some other thread, which is good, but we have yet another solution. The solution is there are 3 versions of wait method, and one of the version is giving out the timeout value, right? Let me show you the documentation real quick. If we check the documentation, there is this wait method, and if we check the description provided by our Java docs, it says cause the current thread to wait until another thread invokes the notify method or the notify all method for this object. Now the next version says, where we pass on the timeout value, cause the current thread to wait until either another thread invokes the notify or notify all method for this object, or a specified amount of time has escaped. Then we also have a yet another version of wait method where we have 2 inputs, int timeout, int nanos. In here the description is causes the current thread to wait until another thread invokes the notify method or notify all method for this object, or some other thread interrupts So what is interrupt is something which we will discuss in later down the line. So some other method interrupts the current thread or a certain amount of real time has escaped. So in here, we won't talk about interrupt. We will talk about interrupt in later down the line. As if now we will talk about these two versions of wait method, where we can also provide some specific time. After the specific time, the thread will automatically resume. So in here, without making use of notify method, we will simply pass on, for example, 6-second time in here. Now what would be the output? If I execute the program, it will say waiting for balance updation. Then definitely our deposit method will call, and then definitely the withdrawal method would be called and withdrawal would be successful, which is cool. And the most important part is the program got terminated automatically after a specific period of time. Now again, let us check the wait method, and this time way around we will not pass any time and we will rely on the notify method. Let's check that. Alright, so let us quickly check these two threads real quick before calling in the notify method. Inside thread 1, we are calling in the withdraw method, which is cool. And inside thread 2 method, we are calling in the deposit method. Take a note of it that both of these method calls are inside the run method, right? So that is one more thing. Now inside this run method directly we can call in the notify method, there is no issue. Or alternatively, we can also call in the notify method inside the deposit method. Both of the way are good enough and both of the way will work. Alright, so let's call in the notify method. Now as soon as we call in the notify method, there are two versions, notify and notify all. Now whenever we call in the notify all method, this means that lock on all the waiting methods on a specific object would be released. In our case, the lock is on the app object because we are making use of app object to call in the withdraw and the deposit method, right? So if there are multiple waiting methods, all the locks on the wait method would be released. Let me show you now. If I execute the program, there would be again a crash. First of all, let me show you, waiting for balance updation, and there is a crash. The crash is because even in order to call the notify method, we need to add in and make use of a synchronized block. So let us do that. And again, we will make use of this instance. Alright. So now if I execute the program, it should work, waiting for balance updation. After 5 seconds, it will show us we are depositing the amount, and as soon as the amount is deposited, the waiting period will end and we would be able to withdraw the amount successfully, which is amazing, right? Now friends, there is yet another version of notify which says notify, not notify all. When we make use of notify, this will release lock on only one wait method. Now in our case, as there is only one wait method, it hardly has any difference to call in the notify or notify all method, and our program will give us a proper and a consistent output. But when we are making use of notify method, then it will release the lock on wait method only for one wait method. It will not release the lock for all the waiting methods, right? Now friends, if there is a question in your mind that how notify will identify that on which specific waiting method to release the lock, the answer is pretty simple. The thread which is waiting for the longest period of time, or the thread whose priority is higher, would be released from the lock. So that is one more thing. So this is all about today's video. Let us summarize couple of things real quick, because this is a slightly difficult to understand concept, and if there is any confusion in your mind, do try to revisit and re-watch this video. Moreover, try to also code this program out of yourself. Alright, so let us try to understand these mechanism, how our program is executing real quick. Alright, so inside our main method, first of all, we have created a specific single object app. Then we have two threads. Thread 1, inside the thread 1 we are simply calling in the withdraw method, and inside thread 2 we are simply calling in the deposit method. Definitely we are making the thread sleep for a couple of seconds in order to simulate and get a better output. That is something else. That's it. So inside our main method, there is no specific thing. The most important thing is inside the withdraw method and the deposit method. So inside the withdraw method, if the balance amount is less than equal to 0, then we won't be able to withdraw amount because there is no balance in fact. So we will enter the thread into the waiting phase and we will simply display the message waiting for balance updation, and we will call in the wait method. So our thread whose name is thread1, where we are calling in the withdraw method, will start waiting until some other thread calls the notify method. Now definitely, as thread1, thread2 are two different threads, thread2 will get executed once thread1 started waiting. As a result, thread2 will call in the deposit method after 5 seconds because we are calling in the sleep method. Now as soon as the deposit method is called, what happened is inside the deposit method we are simply displaying the message, we are depositing the amount, we will update the balance, and then we will call in the notify method. As soon as the notify method is called, the lock on this wait method would be released and we would be able to perform the operation and display the message withdrawal successful, right? And let's do one more thing. In here we will type in and the current balance is, and we will display the current value of balance. That will give you a fair idea that indeed the operation is getting performed properly. Waiting for balance updation after 5 seconds, we would be able to deposit some amount. We have deposited 2000 and withdrawed 1000. As a result, the balance is 1000. Let me show you the parameters as well. We have withdrawn 1000 from the balance 2000 because we have deposited 2000 and the initial balance was 0. Pretty cool and standard stuff. Simple math, right? So balance was initially 0. Once we have deposited the amount, the balance becomes 2000. After we have withdrawn the amount, 2000 minus 1000 will be the operation, and finally the final balance would be 1000. Alright, so I suppose I have made myself clear. This was slightly difficult to understand concept, and if there is any confusion, please revisit this video. Please try to practice. Multi-threading is slightly complicated, as we all know. You guys need to give extra effort to understand these concepts, and practice is the key, guys. You need to practice, you need to research, you need to Google a couple of things, then only you will get these concepts. Alright, so this is all about today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.